This is a primetime local news update.
I'm Jasmine King, and this is a primetime local news update. The Saskatchewan government announced they have 9 new cases of COVID-19 in the province, bringing the total to 193. The province announced they now have 3 deaths related to the virus. One person in the 80 to 89 age range passed away due to complications with the virus yesterday. 4 people are currently in hospital due to the virus. Parliament is set to be recalled for another emergency sitting to consider a multi-billion-dollar expansion for COVID-19 financial assistance measures. As Prime Minister Justin Trudeau restates that reality that Canada could be in for a month-long fight against the virus. Trudeau called the expansion to the wage subsidy unveiled on Monday the largest economic program in Canadian history, and that's why he thinks Parliament should be reconvened to approve it. Today marks the first month rent will be due since the COVID-19 pandemic began, and unemployed workers across the country are struggling to pay up. The Saskatchewan government announced the Office of Residential Tenancies will stop accepting eviction applications for missed or late rent. The Alberta government has suspended evictions of tenants who can't pay rent or their utility bills before May 1st. The province has also frozen rent increases on residential properties for the duration of Alberta's state of public health emergency. We will be providing the latest updates from our city and both provinces on our Facebook page. That's it for today's Daily News Update.
The COVID-19 situation in Lloydminster is constantly evolving. Here's the latest. In the Saskatchewan North Zone, there have been 37 confirmed cases of COVID-19, with 9 recoveries. And on the Alberta side, there are 51 confirmed cases in the Central Zone, and 2 of those cases are in the Vermilion River County. On March 29th, the city declared a state of local emergency, and on March 26th, they amended it, meaning public gatherings of more than 10 people in one room are prohibited, and all non-critical and non-allowable businesses must close.
That all non-essential public-facing businesses were ordered to close, which is consistent with the measures under the Saskatchewan Health Act. We continue to work with our local businesses and educate them on what public-facing services entail.
Non-allowable businesses include everything from clothing and shoe stores to flower and bookshops. City-owned recreation, cultural, and municipal offices, including City Hall, are closed to the public. The city also works with both school divisions to restrict public access to playground equipment.
It wasn't an easy decision for us to make at the city. We understand that a lot of people and families are home from work and they want to stay busy and using the playgrounds in Lloydminster. In the end, the decision was made out of abundance of caution for the safety of all of our residents in the city. By reducing the number of touch points on these hard surfaces at the playground, we can help slow the possibility of any kind of virus transmission in our community.
And while schools in the border city have shifted to online learning, school zones are still in effect.
Remember that the school zones, if you're out traveling, are still in effect. I know school's not in, but again, please respect the school zones, because if there are children that are out and about with their families, they may be in front of them, and they may not be checking for those cars like they've been doing because they've been out of school. So keep that in mind.
According to health officials, the best way to keep yourself safe is to stay home if you can, and if you must leave your home, maintain 2 meters distance from other people, wash your hands frequently, and avoid touching your face.
Please remember, we need to have social distancing. You need to share that with your family members and ensure that you maintain that 2-meter distance between people. You're going to run across people that are friends, family, neighbors, school kids. Are going to see kids they haven't seen for a couple weeks. We have to maintain that distance for everybody's safety.
More information on COVID-19 in Lloydminster is available at lloydminster.ca/COVID-19.
All right, I'm very pleased to be joined with Nigel McCarthy, Director of Education for the LCSD here in Lloydminster. So, Nigel, first off, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Oh, you're very welcome. We're having our first day of class today, so I think it's a really appropriate day for us to be talking about not only what today is, but what the future might hold.
Absolutely. You mentioned first day of classes. What were the steps that, as an organization with the LCSD, that led to deciding that today is officially kind of the first day of classes for you guys?
First of all, it's really about what schools are able to do, and it's about technology and our ability to deliver upon education and curriculum that's useful to kids. But it's also about a sense of service to the community and our students. These are still our students. They're home for a little while, but they're why we're here. So attempting to put this into place in a timely way, given the pause in education that was done by the province, has been a goal since the day the province began to advise us that this would be the process.
Now, how important was it for LCSD to offer students the opportunity to continue their education?
Well, the importance is making sure that they're prepared for next year, whatever that holds for them. For a grade 12 student, that might hold entry into college or into the world of work or into an apprenticeship. We want them to be prepared for that. For a grade 10 student, it's making sure that that difficult Science 10 course doesn't hold them back from future study next year. And for children that are younger, it's about making sure that their literacy and their numeracy and their knowledge of the world continues. That it's not put on hold for 6 months of the year, but that the offer to learn is still there. And we hope that offer to learn is taken up by the majority or all of our students.
Now, of course, this whole pandemic has been a big toll on everybody. What has been some response from, have you had a chance to chat with some parents about some plans going forward that you guys have been implementing, mainly with today, because of course, today being officially the first day of classes?
Well, we certainly had some contact with parents through the process of the pause, and I think parents are looking forward to an opportunity for their kids to, after this break in March, to resume contact with the world, and for their children to know that the doors are still open to learning, though it's going to be a new way, and it's going to be unique, and it's going to teach us all something. We as teachers are learning lots through this process. But to know that, even when the world has slowed down and many things have closed, that education is still there for kids.
Now, just lastly here, now I know we don't know how long COVID-19 is going to continue or if it's going to be shortened up. Is there a long-term plan or a short-term plan for the school division? Is this kind of how you guys are going to do things long-term if COVID-19 still is an issue?
Well, I think, we've really relied a lot on the support of our trustees and our school system to be working back and forth with the province to try and get the best information possible. No one envisions this as a permanent solution or as a permanent situation, but we have to take the advice of the medical professionals that are working to this, and the chief medical officers of health and the local public health officers to define how that's going to happen in weeks and months to come. But we do think that for today, we're celebrating, the beginning of something new that's going to be wonderful for young people, and is going to give us as teachers and as a school system the opportunity to grow too. So it's an exciting day.
Nigel McCarthy, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate your time as always.
You have yourself a great day, and thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about this.
I'm joined here today by Todd Lewis on the phone, the president of APAS. Todd, thank you for joining me today. And first off, the government is announcing that they will be moving forward with the carbon tax increase. Just your immediate thoughts on the situation.
Well, we've always had issues with the carbon tax, and our thoughts around the increase in the tax, we've never been in favor of the tax, and have pointed out a lot of the problems with it in the current carbon pricing model. Just even things like the Supreme Court challenge is underway. It's been put off for the time being, as far as having the challenge day in court, between Saskatchewan and the other provinces that are bringing that challenge forward at the Supreme Court level, and with everything that's going on in the world, we thought that now is a time that any tax increase should be put off until a later date, and certainly the carbon tax was a tax increase, and we didn't see really with the current situation that it would be something that would be much better to be put off to a later date.
And you mentioned that it is a concern right now, and you guys have come out with a report saying 8% of producers' profits will be ate into by the carbon tax, moving up to 12% here in a couple of years. So just how big is that concern in this current economic climate?
Well, I think, we've seen farmers' income drop. I believe the numbers were, 40% last year. We're hoping we don't see further drops. COVID-19 has put a lot of uncertainty in the agriculture industry, just like all industries in the country. And, as our margins shrink, that percentage of money that the carbon tax, it doesn't go away. The farmers are still paying the same or more carbon tax. In situations like grain drying this year, it's been more money out of farmers' pockets, not only for the cost of the drying, but with the tax applied to the drying. So it's something that as our margins shrink and net income drops, the percentage actually may go up, because that's the issue with the carbon tax. It comes off our bottom line, and there's no way to pass those costs along to the people that buy our products. So I think that's where we've seen issues with this tax, and just felt this time it would there's lots of time to focus on this after we're through this epidemic, but or pandemic, I guess is the right term. But we need to get past this and talk about carbon tax. But at this point, we just didn't see any value in seeing the tax being raised.
And obviously some big concerns that producers are facing right now. But is there anything else that you are hearing from producers across Saskatchewan when it does come to this COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I think there's lots of uncertainty in the ag community. We've got a survey now that we've asked producers to fill out, so we can move these concerns along, either to decision makers in Regina or Ottawa. There's been lots of, federally especially, programs put in place around credit availability of it for producers. So we need to hear from the grassroots. The survey is available at apas.com. Just Google APAS, APAS, and you get led to the survey and follow the links. And it's not a lengthy survey, and we're going to change it every week. We're going Wednesday to Tuesday, and as we see questions, and if there's no question, there's room for comments too if producers have concern. And communication is going to be key here, because the situation is changing daily. The programs are changing daily. So if producers can't access these programs, we need to pass that along to government.
All right, we thank you for taking the time here with us today, Todd, and good luck here in the near future.
I'm joined over Skype with Primetime Local News' sports guy, Evan Kenny. Evan, tell me, what's the latest going on with COVID-19 when it comes to the sports world?
Well, Abby, things are not getting better. A couple weeks ago, we saw the NHL and the NBA cancel their seasons. And the most recently, we've seen Wimbledon, the oldest tennis major, postponed for the first time since World War II. So when one of the oldest majors for any sport, but the oldest major for tennis is being postponed, things are not good. They're just heading in that spiral down. In the NHL, 4 Ottawa Senators players have tested positive, to add on to 3 players that had previously been tested and been positive as well. So people are still continuing to get it, and it doesn't look too great for any of the major sports.
Now, you're saying we have been going on this downward spiral. Has the leagues been talking about getting back into action, or what their plans are for the next couple of months, especially for playoffs, for the certain sports that are needing to go into playoffs shortly?
Well, they've been talking about it, but nothing has been cemented yet, so nothing official. The NHL, day by day, the NHLPA and the owners of the league are in talks, so that's ongoing. As well, the CFL, who hasn't even started yet, is most likely going to be postponing the start of their season. They've already postponed their training camps. So there's a whole nother step that needs to be taken there for a league that hasn't even started yet. And then finally, the NBA is having talks about, possibly getting their season back going in time for playoffs. But they're talking about maybe doing a bubble city type thing where teams play in a quarantined area.
Now, with all of these sports on standstill, all the seasons, there's no games, which means that there's no revenue coming in. These major sports leagues, the NHL, the NBA, the MLB, they bring in millions of dollars in just a couple of days, pretty much, in just a couple of games. So, how has this affected sports world on a money standpoint?
Well, the owners they're starting to get fed up with it. They're not getting money in, and lots of them are dishing out money to part-time employees who don't have this time to be working. So they really want to turn it around. Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban was actually the one who suggested possibly doing this bubble, quarantine NBA season. So, he's one that's looking to turn it around. But as well, you mentioned it, the TV deals. That's where most of these leagues bring in their income. And it's not just the 4 leagues that we're seeing affected by this. It's the Olympics as well. That's one of the most televised events that's being postponed until next year. As well, different ones throughout the MLB. There was the Chicago Cubs were going to play the St. Louis Cardinals in London. That's been taken away. So teams and leagues are really starting to feel this blow.
Well, hopefully things will start turning around very soon, because it's not just players and coaches who are getting antsy. It's definitely sports fans who don't have much to watch these days. They're really scratching that surface for any bit of sports programming. So hopefully in the next couple of months, or even the next couple of weeks, things start to seem like we're on a bit of the horizon is in sight. So thanks so much for your input, Evan. It's always very appreciated.
Thanks, Abby.